What's up, everybody? This is part 2 of the double header tonight. I am joined by Matt Sassano of Knoxville, Tennessee. How you doing tonight, man?
Hey, man, never better. Greetings from the neck of the woods in Knoxville. Good to be here.
Absolutely, man. I'm only about an hour and 45 minutes away from you, actually, out in Abingdon, Virginia right now. So it's pretty cool.
Is that kind of your home base, man? Is that kind of where you live?
Yeah, man. I've lived around this area most of my life. Originally Pennsylvania, and then moved down here when I was about 6 years old, and I'm just one of those people that never moved back.
Oh man, that's awesome. So I moved to Knoxville from a small little town called Canisteo. So
Okay.
2014. Yeah, man. So I've been enjoying it, man, and like I said, really stoked to hear about everything that's going on with this new podcast, dude. And
Absolutely, man. And thank you again for being on this, dude. It's a small upcoming thing, man, and it's like I tell all my guests, I don't want it to become the biggest thing ever. I just want to help people, dude. And I was listening to your music, and that message is very clear that is what you want to do. So I was really stoked. A little bit of behind the scenes when I got the email from you that you were intrigued about being on it, and you and me have a mutual friend with Nathan, which was really cool. I still have yet to meet that guy after all these years, but yeah, I need to get down to Knoxville.
Wild dude, man. I remember kind of when I first moved here, we played kind of this club called the Open Course. It was kind of our home base, and they had a lot of different bands come through. And Nathan was always kind of, doing a different band project and all that kind of stuff. So I got to see him in action and be a part of the whole scene and stuff. And he was always just wild and crazy. I always loved, his energy.
Yeah, man, he's a crazy cat. I've known him on Facebook, I think like 7, 8, maybe longer than that now, to be honest with you. It's been a while. I think since like 2014, 2015. We met through a Breaking Benjamin group of all things on here, and we just became really, really tight over the years. And he's still to this day one of the people I still really want to meet in person. So man, for those that don't know you, tell them a little bit about yourself, what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, man. So I guess you could say I moved to Knoxville around 2014. I was originally from a small little cow town called Canisteo. More cows than people. Nothing really going on there. But like I said, I like to write music for the underdog. I'm a person who just really was deeply entrenched in rock for my whole entire life. And I guess you could say that like I spent a lot of my life as kind of the underdog, feeling misplaced. I was born with a lot of different challenges and stuff. When I was born, I came out with cerebral palsy, and I have another disability called dyscalculia. And so I remember just struggling through life, struggling through my education, and just trying to find where I belonged and where I fit. And around the age of 15, these kids gave me my first like tooth and nail compilation CD, which was my gateway into rock and roll. And so, yeah, man, I see you nod. You're a tooth and nail fan as well.
Oh, dude, I grew up in a religious home. So like I think you and me are gonna have a lot of similarities in that aspect.
Yeah.
And as far as dealing with the cerebral palsy and everything since birth, I was also born with several diagnoses that to this day kind of hinder me. I'll say that, but they're also something that I embrace, just like you have.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was it like when you got that tooth and nail? Was it the sampler? Like, was it the old samplers or like a compilation?
Yeah, it was, man. You had you had those different samplers, and they had different ones. So they had solid state, which was
Yeah. Demon Hunter and
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And then you had the more punk stuff. Well, the band that I really cling to, I mean, there was a ton, but the band that I think that really just got me into the music and was kind of a gateway was MXPX. I really
Oh
loved.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that from me, but I don't know. Something about it was just really relatable, and I just really liked it. And it was one of those things where, like I said, growing up in a religious home, you could kind of sneak by the radar. It wasn't too heavy to, but it wasn't something that was like it felt genuine to me. You know what I mean? Talking about like issues that we were going through at the time, and it was kind of fun. And so they were the band that kind of first got me into it, and then from there it just expanded. And I was into all sorts of different music, and from there I just got into everything from you know all sorts of rock. So like when Eminem came out, I really got fascinated with a lot of what he, was saying, and so I'm just like this mixed bag of music. And like I said, it was kind of the only thing that helped me feel empowered in those times where I kind of felt misplaced at home in my education. And like I said, I grew up in a pastor's home where I learned a lot about my faith, but on the other hand, there was a lot of dysfunction and abuse that took place and stuff like that. And so, like I said, today it's awesome to kind of go full circle and be able to express these things and talk about those things that I wasn't always so excited to bring up.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, that's what I want this podcast to be about, is breaking that stigma so people will come forward more in their actual lives. And, if you can see somebody on here that is going out of their way to talk about something they've been through, maybe it will encourage others. That's the hope. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like my first my first band project that I started in 2010 was unironically named Transparent, and I think that that's kind of like the first, like the word that comes to mind when I think back on what I want to achieve
Mm-hmm.
in the music, is to kind of approach things that maybe people are uneasy to talk about. Like my latest single that's coming out right now, we talk a lot about domestic abuse. We've
Yeah.
talked a lot about certain addictions, and so yeah, I think music is one of those things where um, it just it's awesome to just have an outlet to be vulnerable and just to let people know that they're not alone, man, and do it in an art form that's so authentic to us.
Yeah, I agree. Um, so if it's okay with you, I want to ask you about what it was like dealing with the cerebral palsy, while trying to make things work in the music industry as well. Like that, I know comes with its own set of challenges.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I said, really just struggled throughout my education. I remember in school, um, being kind of the odd man out in a lot of situations. And I remember going to different physical therapy meetings and different occupational stuff. And so even up until my early 20s, I wasn't really solid in what I wanted to do in life. And it left me kind of feeling empty. And I mean, I remember even in high school, just when they would bring certain people in, I was very aware of like socially and stuff like that. Like, so when they brought people in to kind of like address the problems, it was kind of embarrassing in 11th grade to kind of be that guy. And so I always tried to go above and beyond to try to distract from all the stuff that, people were trying to label me with. I had the blue hair and I had the piercings, and I was always like the first person to pull a prank to kind of distract from all
Yeah.
the other things. It was like, man, if I'm gonna be weird, I might as well be weird for a different reason. And so I was that prankster kid that always was doing dumb things for attention and all that. But I think like my sense of humor kind of was a mechanism for survival back then, because I saw so many kids that had disabilities just get trampled and deflated. And so my quick defense mechanism was to, hey man, if I can get them looking over here, then I won't have to own up. But it wasn't until, just recently even, that I wrote the first song called Not My Name that came out that discusses, labels that people put on you because of your disabilities, or maybe you're just like a black sheep. And so I really didn't like to do it. My first couple band projects, that was the one area that I didn't want to discuss. We talked about a lot of things in different songs, but just coming forward on stage and saying, hey, this is what I struggle with, and you don't want that stigma attached to you. But Not My Name was kind of my gateway into being more open and honest about what I struggled with and who I really am. And now I'm seeing people come forward and be like, hey man, I'm struggling. I've had a hard time feeling comfortable in my own skin, and your song really made a difference for me. So hey dude, it's cool, because in a weird way, it's like if I had gone through all that not to express it in my music, like it would have been all in vain. But now I feel like we're creating a movement of people that are not only just have disabilities, but just are underdogs in general. And so it's cool to all come together.
Yeah, I agree. I'll try not to say too much about myself, but I still want to make the conversation, flow. But where you were talking about feeling like the outcast, especially in school because of the physical therapy and everything. So I've talked about it before on here, I know, but so I was born with a blood clot and a brain tumor.
Wow.
And I wasn't able to walk until I was about 5 or 6. So when I was in public school, man, I don't remember too much of it. You kind of like black the years out. I was pulled out after about the 4th grade, and due to like just some really harshness. But hearing that you not went through a similar thing, but in the same mindset in a way, like you're afraid of what people think at the same time. And so you're trying to be the jokester. You're trying to be that person that lightens everything up, because you don't want that to be what they're accentuating on you, because you're desperately, like, at least for me, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, I was desperately trying to find something to not be the butt of a joke.
Exactly, man. Yeah. I mean, it was just like I said, when you have disabilities like you and I, or, setbacks or whatever, it's like people don't understand. You kind of go to bed trying to, at night, and you're thinking about, like, how am I going to navigate myself in school without being the butt of the joke, or, just like, there's that anxiety that's kind of pent up in us that we're just like, dude, we got to, and I don't think, unless you've gone through it, you might not understand it. And so, yeah, like, I feel like with you and I, we kind of developed a sense of humor or something early on to kind of serve as a defense mechanism and stuff. And it's definitely one of those things. Like, I remember, because I had a lazy eye back when I was in elementary school, I have to wear an eye patch. And I remember going, people would ask, like, what's going on with your eye? And I'd have to, like, fake an injury, or like, yeah, my cat scratched me. And like, like 2 months later, people would be like, is that cat scratch gone yet? I was like, man, we have a tiger at home. Like, I just like, try to, I couldn't keep up with the lie anymore. So like, and that's our big thing, you know what I mean? I think it eats into our adulthood, because when you have setbacks, like for me, I know I can't drive. And so like socially, I really struggled, and, it was tough getting out. So you kind of have those questions of like, who's going to want to spend their time? There's those devaluing questions you ask yourself throughout your whole life.
Yeah. So I'll ramp things up a little bit here. So talk to me about what we've already talked about, your early inspirations, but what were some of the bands outside of MXPX that you grew up with that didn't necessarily get you into the metal scene? I had my fair share of contemporary Christian music in my household. So like, yeah. I'm really just curious to see how much we lined up.
Yeah, man. So it wasn't just Tooth and Nail. Like I said, I think that was like kind of the gateway. And then I just got into a whole bunch of just different stuff. It was weird because on one end, like we used to make those mixtapes, and I would have like, on track 8, it'd be like a contemporary Christian song. And then on track, 10, it'd be like Eminem, Purple Pill. If the parents came in, you just switch the track.
You're like, yeah, no, I wasn't listening to that. What are you talking about? I wasn't listening to Korn just now. That was
grounds here, man.
Yeah, that was Switchfoot, Meant to Live remix.
So a lot of it was like MXPX, and I really grew up with a lot of like, I went through a lot of just different phases. I remember like for one phase it was like I really got heavy into like the punk scene. I would listen to like the Ramones and the Casualties, and you know, even like the pop punk stuff like the Sum 41s, like Blink 182s, and then I went into, and I think we were talking about Breaking Benjamin earlier. I think my transition into the music that I'm doing now, not that it's really much like Breaking Benjamin, but I think their album Phobia was really a turning point for me too.
Oh man, that album.
Yeah. And I just, when I heard Diary of Jane, like for whatever reason, I loved it, and I just couldn't stop pushing the replay button on YouTube. And so my stepdad, who, you know, knew that like about the time that my parents were going through a pretty bad divorce, he kind of was there for me. And he was like, man, I think, you know, you've got a lot to say. You've got a lot pent up. Why don't you just start your band, like a band project, I'll manage, and you know, do your thing. And it wasn't my initial goal to even sing. Like I was originally going to just play the bass and write the songs, but what I found out was that, you know, band members are hard to come by, and when you're drafting a singer every week, I'd have to like draft a singer, they drop out of the project, and I was left in square one. And so eventually I just became the singer, put down the bass, and kind of grew into the role. But like I said, like Breaking Benjamin was kind of a huge influence for me.
Yeah.
And then I would say like Skillet really influenced me a lot, and their newer stuff as well. As far as what I do, yeah, I think it's like a cross between rock, and it has like electronic elements and stuff like that. And so, yeah, just a mixed bag of all sorts of different music and appreciation for a lot of things.
So Will Brawley, he's a huge fan of mine and a huge friend, I should say. I'm a huge fan of his. Let me reword that. I'm a jerk for saying it that way. Wow. Anyway, he is wanting to know: did you listen to any Cold or maybe some Crossfade growing up?
Oh yeah, Cold. Looking back at me. Yeah, they were on the mixtape for sure. You know, and they were one of them. Seven Dust was like a band that I remember listening to a lot. Weirdly enough, I had that. It's strange, but for a while, and I'm going to admit this on the podcast, so people don't hate me, but I listened to Crazy Town for a little bit. They were like big on my list.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting one.
Well, you hear the Butterfly song and you're kind of like, all right, this isn't. But then when you flip through the rest of the album, it kind of had some cool techno vibes, and they were a little harder and a little more rugged. And so I liked them for a while. And like I said, it's just like a mix of like a lot of new metal, some rap, and I just kind of, you know, put a lot of that into all my music. And so yeah, man, a lot of things went on those mixtapes. The first song I ever illegally pirated, I got to open up for Project 86. If you've heard of
I love Project 86, dude. Their new album is phenomenal if you haven't listened to it.
I haven't yet, but I definitely will have to. Like, they were one that really just made an impact on me, and it was funny because I got to open for them, and
I'm jealous.
My older band project. It was really awesome. And I think I was on a live stream where I told Andrew, the singer, I was like, man, I was 14 years old, and the first song that I illegally downloaded on Napster was yours. And he's like, hey, man, that's awful, but we understand, you know. You know, he was like, that's cool, but don't do it again, you know. But it was back in the Napster days. And so I just remember being blown away because I had a friend that would take me to this local library. And at the time, like, everybody takes it for granted now that you can just get whatever song you want.
Yeah.
Back in our day, man, like it was cool because I went to this library and like Napster was first coming out, and my friend was like, "Dude, just name a song." I was like, "I can name any song I want," and you just like put it on a CD for me. And so, yeah, man, I had so much fun just being like creating these mixtapes. Had POD on them. Had
You for the Nation.
And just you name it, man. And so that's kind of how I got such an eclectic taste in music. Like I said, it'd be like one track was this, and then the other thing would be complete opposite. And it really just kind of helped me find my own voice. And like I just resonated with Papa Roach,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
Chanel, all things like that.
So I can already tell I'm gonna want you back for another episode, man, because I think we can just talk about music already for like an hour if I'm not careful. Um, what I heard when I first listened to you, man, was you remind me a lot vocal wise of Nine Lashes.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, Anthem of the Lonely, dude. They
Yeah, yeah,
were
yeah. I saw
that's
them live back in the like late 2011, 2012 era. They were with I think Skillet and Thousand Foot Crutch. Um, but your voice reminded me so much of their first album, and it intrigued me. And then I was like, oh man, okay. So you've mentioned Eminem about 3 times now, and I gotta ask you, dude, the cover you did for "Lose Yourself."
yeah.
I was sitting there listening to it, and I was like, "There's no way he's gonna do this one because of the genre you're in." So I was like, "How's he gonna do this and make it different, right?" And I'm sitting there, I was like, you had me by the first hook. I was like, "Okay, so I'm sold on this. This might be the most different and interesting cover in the best way possible for that to be done."
Yeah, it was funny. It goes back to my days in the local Knoxville scene. So we used to do. I was in a band called Transparent Soul, and I used to have a five-piece band, right? And we
Yeah,
would go out to like clubs and bars and all that kind of stuff, and I would play that cover. But I had a five-piece band with me, and so like I said, a lot of my music was like is about like acclimating. When that band disbanded, I went full solo, and so I was like, so I want to keep this cover, but I know that like without a full band, if I do it the traditional way, it looks kind of funky. And so that's when I was like, you can pack a little bit of intensity in this dubstep style. And so it was cool because I just kind of was like, I don't know, just like blending that style with the Eminem. And I think because of the nature of dubstep music, you can get away with a lot more with a
yeah,
lesser band.
oh
And
yeah,
so that was kind of, and so we just came out with something really unique. And yeah, man, it's kind of always a hit when I go out to different places and play it. And I get to, because back in the day, like I went full Stan. I will admit, man, I had the bleach blonde
you had the
hair,
oh
I
man,
had the baggy pants, man, and I was,
you're
all my
still
people
alive.
hated me, man, because the shady would pop out, every once in a while. And so, yeah, I get to tell the story, and like we have a backdrop of me with like the picture with me with the bleach blonde hair, and so it's more than just when I do that cover, it's more than just oh, it's a cool song to throw in. Like I literally wanted to beat Eminem when I was younger, and so I was the ultimate fan.
That is amazing.
I'll admit it right here, man.
That is amazing, dude. I don't know what I was thinking I would get from that one, but that was better. Um, so going into what you're doing now, I've noticed your first album. The name of it is slipping me right now.
Transcend.
Yes, yes. Um, your first album I noticed was a little bit more electronic heavy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it reminded me a lot of Gareth Emery, if you're familiar with him. Um,
I'm gonna
he
have to check
was
that out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's still around. He's a producer slash creator of music in like the EDM scene and everything. And your vocal style on that album reminded me of him. On this newer one though, you can tell there's been not
Yeah.
I don't want to say improvement, but you've grown as a vocalist, in my opinion. I hope that doesn't sound harsh. Like
No,
you know
no,
what I mean.
no. I'll tell you the whole story behind it. So it's kind of hilarious. So when my band that I came out with, it was more like traditional rock, Breaking Benjamin,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. Um, we broke up in about I want to say 2016, and with that, I didn't really know the future of what my music was going to be. Like I was kind of just like trying to figure out how I could reinvent myself. And for a while, I got into like licensing and trying to do stuff like that. And so what had happened was I got involved with a young producer, Colton Carnley. He was really influenced by a lot of pop stuff and all that kind of stuff, and I was more influenced by the rock stuff.
Mhm.
And for a while there, we were just kind of throwing things at the fan. But I don't know that I kind of embrace my true identity. You kind of get lost after so many band breakups, and you're like, I don't really know where I want to go as like a solo artist. And when I got involved in licensing, a lot of people were telling me how to write and like what to write.
Yeah.
And so it got to a point where I think there's some pretty cool songs on that Transcend album, but at the same time, I was still coming into like who I wanted to be. Like I said, you kind of lose yourself after a certain point, and you go through these band breakups, and things happen to where you're kind of like, you don't willingly jump into compromise, but you're like, let's try this and see if this works, and you're just throwing stuff at the fan. And what I found with this new In Defiance stuff, I'm not gonna trash my Transcend album for sure, but at the same time, it was my transition as a solo artist. Like it got me to realize like I can do this without a full band all the time, and I can just do it with tracks, and we can. And so in that aspect, I really love that album. But when you see like the Indefiant stuff on, it's more me. I would say like I definitely came into like okay, um, I'm just gonna go back to what I know and what I'm
Mhm.
best at, and that's writing authentic things and in my rock style that I really like, and adding some new elements that I attained from the Transcend album because it's not just like, and there's no shade. I love Breaking Benjamin, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
guitar-driven music. I kind of picked up a lot of the cinematic elements that I adopted in this new stuff from the Transcend album. So I guess it was just me growing as an artist and trying to figure out like I guess things are just better when I'm at my most authentic and I can just take what I've learned and apply it where I need to.
100%. I completely agree. I feel when I write something, if it's not genuine, you lose something, right? You know
Exactly.
it's almost like a pandering act that you're doing, and it's like you for me, I feel like I'm losing a part of myself by doing that.
Exactly, man. It was like for me that Transcend album was great in terms of like just opening my world and going like there are different genres of music that I can incorporate, and it was me trying to write decent songs that I knew weren't maybe my best work, but at the same time, like I was not trying to sell my soul and write like M&M ads or something, or like like old Navy commercials. So I got into this funk where I was just like, it's good, and there's a lot of cool things that came from it. But when I returned to this is why you're here and this is what I'm meant to do, then like the rock stuff started coming back, and then I integrated some of the cinematic stuff, and it just really came into my own and just went like, okay, the best stuff is when I'm just authentically me.
Absolutely. So I was listening to the In Defiance. It's a what is it? It's a 4-track EP, right?
Yeah, there's 5 on there, but
Oh, is
man,
there five? Okay, I might have
yeah,
missed one. I apologize then. Um, I've been listening to "Sorry Is a Dirty Word," and I really, really dig the style that you did on that, man. What was the inspiration behind that one?
sure. So it was really an unplanned kind of song. So I had gone into studio, and I had a whole like list of different songs that I wanted to do, and we had written. And I was gonna originally go in there. I'm a big Linkin Park fan, so I was gonna do a cover of "In the End" by Linkin Park, which I still may do in the future, right?
You should. You
Um,
should.
yeah, I love those guys. But along that line, like Josiah Prince, who I was working with, was like, man, if you could write one more along the lines of like what we've been doing, I just think you should come out with another original. And so I went in with "Sorry is a Dirty Word," and the premise of the song, it's actually also featuring my girlfriend too. She's singing on there with me, my current
No
girlfriend.
way. That's awesome, dude.
And so we went in, and I was like, what should I write about? And "Sorry is a Dirty Word" is basically a song for that person that you tried and tried to be on good terms with. Maybe you're in a narcissistic relationship. Maybe you're, just dealing with a difficult personality. And sometimes it's better to just kind of let go and let
Mm-hmm.
God, even when you know that like the one word that they won't say is that sorry word that you want to hear. You may go through life and never get that apology that you feel you deserve. And a lot of the music that I write has to do a lot with like my family situation and my father because of a lot of the, things that we went through growing up with the abuse and stuff. And I've never once heard a sorry or anything like that. We have a really estranged relationship. And so I just wanted to convey the point that like, even when you may never get the apology that you deserve. Sometimes it's just better to let go and just love somebody from a distance and like let it go.
Yes, 100%, man. Touching on the subject of abuse, I was watching your video for Dear God, and man, that's some powerful imagery.
Oh man, yeah,
It I feel for anybody that has gone through that. I knew somebody that did myself, and it was brutal. It was brutal. No matter the extent, there shouldn't be a measurable extent for that. But just that subject matter that you're able to broach and do it in the way that you did, man, you got something there, and I think that's a very strong message. So I applaud you on that.
yeah, man, it was awesome. I enjoyed creating the video and stuff. It was right in Nashville. We kind of created that, and I just wanted a lot of my stuff to be autobiographical and really true to my life. Because, like I said, I kind of came off the transcend stuff, which was okay, but at the same time, it wasn't. So, like moving forward, I just was like, I got to tell my story, but so many other people deal, like you were saying, your friend. It's like I feel like I'm through being the more transparent in the music. These things are coming to pass, and so yeah, man, I'm glad that you liked that video, man. It was a real awesome privilege to kind of try to make and co-direct.
Yeah,
Cool.
there's a part in the video where at first I thought the audio was actually messed up because everything just drops out on it, and
Yeah,
then I'm like, oh wow, and then it ramps up from there. I was just really amazed at the quality and the amount of care that went into how you portrayed it, because it's very easy to portray it in a wrongful light, if that makes sense.
yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a challenge to kind of pull all that off. And like I said, Joel Burris is a videographer around here, not in the Knoxville area. I think he's from Missouri, but he is somebody
Okay.
with his team and really helped me conceptualize. Well, I conceptualized the video, and then he kind of just brought it all to life. I was like, okay, this is kind of. And Dear God is all about when I was going through those times of isolation and depression and abuse. I used to legitimately write letters to God, asking Him what the plan for my life was, or how I was going to be just venting my frustrations, I guess. And that's what that video is portraying. And it was tough to film. There was some parts where it was like, they had me on that spinning bed, you see, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I had a camera like above my head. I'm holding
Oh,
on to the camera and I'm spinning. And I had been there all day, and they had like the smoke and the weird lighting. So I'm getting like a headache and on this spinning bed and almost puked mid session. So I'm glad, like, I was like, man, this better be worth it. But to just see how it came together was a really amazing experience. And so I'm
yeah.
super glad that people are resonating.
Yeah. Will Brawley, he sent out that, dear God, I need to hear that one, especially having gone through abuse as a young kid. Will, it is a powerful video, man. It will definitely hit you in the
Where's
feels.
Will from, man?
Will is from, he's gonna beat me up if I don't remember this. I think CO, Oregon.
Oregon, dude. Dude,
Yeah.
that's awesome. We've played some Oregon shows. We've done Roseburg, Chamol, like all these kind of smaller Oregon towns. So, dude, I'm thinking about coming back there sometime, and it'd be awesome to see you, man.
He just said, Matt, I'm proud of the fact that you overcame that part of your life. He was there too, and I'm your friend, and you have his empathy.
Hey, man. Well, like I said, drop me a line on Instagram, dude. Let's chat. And like I said, I'm trying to make some more tour dates in Oregon, so it's good to have you joining us today, bro. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Albany, Oregon. He just gets stuff sent to CO. Well, my bad. I'm trying here. No, nothing but love for him, you know. But so, I mean, I what what really hit me when I was looking into you, Matt, was how transparent you are about what your message is about dealing with the cerebral palsy and this dyscalculia. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, exactly, dude. You're like the first person to get it right.
I was trying to. I was like, dude, I've been worried about getting your last name wrong all day.
I think it's typed right on here too. I don't know that I typed it right, but is it Sassano, right? I got it all
Yes,
right on there.
yes.
Okay.
So is that Sassano?
That's it, man. Yeah.
All right,
Right
good.
on, dude. You're doing it, man.
I try, but so I've never talked to anybody with dyscalculia. So that's I it's rhythm based or mathematic based, right? Like it's a little bit of a learning on that, like a learning
Yeah.
curve.
So dyscalculia, how I like to describe it, man, is like the best way I can describe it is my navigational skills are way off. My math
Okay.
skills has always been off, but my navigational skills are really off. Whenever I get into a car with somebody, I have to trust. It's like being kidnapped. Like
Oh wow.
even locally, when I drive or when somebody drives me, I don't. For whatever reason, I could never find. I can't find the way there, and I can't find the way back. Like my brain just wipes out coordinates, and I can't like reading a map is really difficult. Like I know when I used to work certain jobs, like I'd get turned around, and like bosses would, and because I was so um, trying to hide it at the time, bosses would just think I was being neglectful with their time. You know, they'd be like, dude, I saw you wandering around. But like the truth was, I was literally trying to find my way around like wherever I
Oh
was
man.
working. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, like because of that, like the driving became difficult. Mathematics became really difficult. I remember struggling so hard. I don't even think I passed a legit math test in my entire life. Like I'm just being real vulnerable with you guys.
Yeah.
Um, but somehow, in you know, I failed through a lot of my high school. It was a weird, like, it's a long story involved, but I ended up finishing high school through college. And weirdly enough, my brain latched on to statistics. And I could do statistics, but
Wow.
I couldn't do like regular math. And so that was kind of how I fought through high school was this professor that was studying my disability and being like, dude, I have a theory that like he might not be able to pass this math, but he'll pass this math. And so like years of just lying on applications because I couldn't pass the GED. Like I had dropped out of school in 11th grade to go and grab a GED because I thought it was going to be like the easy route, you know. And
Yeah.
little did I know, I was sky high on every other metric of my education, but when it came to the math, I couldn't pass. So I was in this endless loop of just like not being able to go on with life. I took the GED test like 4 or 5 times, and I don't know if anybody knows anything about the GED test, but there's like this massive amount of time before you can take it again. And
Yeah.
so I'm just sitting here watching like everybody that I'm graduating with like surpass me in every major milestone. Like people being like, dude, what are you gonna do with your life? You're like in your 20s and you're not out of high school yet, you know. And I'm just like freaking out about the direction of my life. And finally, we kind of my mom who is like one of my biggest like champions in life. She had made about 300 phone calls. Finally got in touch with the writer of the GED, and I was later diagnosed with dyscalculia at 19. He found
Oh
out, he's like,
wow.
man, these struggles that he's going through is really reminiscent of dyscalculia. We'd never heard of it. You know, we knew about the CP, we knew about the cerebral palsy, but like this whole dyscalculia thing, everybody was just trying to figure out. I was like the lab rat in school. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we finally figured that out. And then when they enrolled me in statistics, I passed with flying colors and was able to get out of high school through college, which was nuts. I felt like Billy Madison. You know, it's like, I was like, weird, man. So,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have laughed at that, but man.
no, I mean, it was a brutal situation at the time, but, you know, you find that humor in it. It's just like, my life is crazy. And so to be here, you know, doing rock and roll music and touring the nation and having a support system, and it's like, I never thought I'd get out of high school, man.
Dude, that's amazing, though. Like, I mean, look how far you've come, too. That's something to be, you know, proud of, in my opinion. Speaking of being proud, I saw a post that you made for your newest single, Fuel. I believe it hit 4 weeks on #1 for like a contemporary Christian rock radio.
Yeah, dude, it's been awesome. Like I said, Fuel was another song that we just really worked on with Josiah, and it's cool because like we've had 3 consecutive #1s. Not My Name went #1 for various weeks. Dear God went #1 for various weeks, and now my 3rd single, Fuel, is, you know, continuing that same trajectory, which is amazing. And like I said, it's just that thank you letter to all those circumstances and people that tried to kick me while I was down. You know, because ultimately those things, even though you take your lumps and it's really tough, it just ultimately makes you stronger. So that's what that song is all about, man.
Absolutely. Will just chimed in. He said he's debated on doing a clip tearing up something of his own for the video.
Oh, dude, yeah. We're putting together a video where we're just destroying hurtful words that were said to us, or like, you know, milestones that we're on that people never said that we would. Like, I had some people, you know, talking about getting, you know, you'll never be sober because they, you know, struggle with addiction. And we've been ripping up stuff. We've been lighting it on fire. So I'm putting together a compilation of all these words, these hurtful words, and these things that people have underestimated us on, and we're burning them up, we're ripping them, and we're going to create a cool Fuel compilation for social media.
Well, if you can handle grotesque handwriting, so like we've been very open about, you know, our diagnoses and everything else, but I suffer a lot of motor skill problems. I've had several brain surgeries. So like my handwriting once was really good, but my last set of surgeries back when I was 19 just screwed everything up for me.
Dude, so how many, you said you had brain surgery?
Yeah. I'm trying not, like, I'm only saying it because it's relevant to the conversation. I don't want you to think I'm trying to, you know, I've had 6 altogether.
Wow. Now, so, like, what is that? Like, because, I mean, I was, you know, a young kid when I had my lazy eye surgery, so I don't really remember. Like, what is the paranoia like when you go into a brain surgery? Like, that's got to be just the next level.
Man, it is. So I'll rip the Band-Aid off, man. So the last time I had my brain surgeries, this is weird. Like, I've actually not talked about this on the podcast. So like, I hope I'm not, you know, butting into your time on this. Like, that's why I've been hesitant to talk about, you know, but, so I was 19 at the time, man. And, I was, like I said, I was born with a blood clot and a brain tumor. And I have water on the brain. So
hydrocephalus.
Yeah.
Not
syphilis. Cephalus.
Yeah, I was like,
I have aquatic syphilis now, guys. That's what's going on.
What is it called, man? I'm gonna see. This is how rumors get started. You know?
Yeah. Hydrocephalus is what it is.
No, he doesn't.
I'm messing with you. But so like I have a tube in my neck, and it drains all the excess water off the brain into the stomach, and then, you know, through natural ways of waste. Let's just But so like all that kind of just broke apart when I was 19, and I had to go in for a revision. And man, I threw up like 30 times that day because I have what's called a shunt, and it is basically like a big long plastic tube that is supposed to extend, but it stopped extending. So all the metal that was inside my stomach and the tubing just like burst. So all the water was causing me to go septic. There was really no Band-Aid, man, just because like for me, dude, I was basically told, I was like, all right, so you can sit here, you're gonna DIE if you don't get this surgery. So it was a, you know, again, I feel weird talking about it. Like I just, you know, I have you on here, so I don't want you to think I'm trying to.
No, dude. I mean, that's like, you know, being upfront about what we've gone through, man. That's kind of what I'm all about. So it makes sense. I mean,
well,
you know.
Yeah, and see, like the reason I'm willing to open up on it for this one in particular, man. I feel like you and me are cut from the same cloth. Similar upbringing in church, and even dealing with different diagnoses. Like it's not often that I get to converse with somebody who I feel could have been, you know, in the same shoes as I was at my age.
Yeah, man, and it's like tough when you first open up about it. You know, like
Yeah, oh yeah.
I felt completely out of my skin. You know, trying to talk about stuff that I've gone through, and so it's just cool to like remove the stigma and to say, you know, I am who I am, man. If people don't like it, that's whatever, you know. And
Yeah.
you just have to get to that point where it's like I don't really care.
So I know you said you got diagnosed with dyscalculia at 19.
Yeah.
And you were born with cerebral palsy, correct?
Yeah, we knew about that early on.
Okay. I'm sorry about that, man. I was so I'm trying to think of the way to word it that I don't sound like, you know, like I'm all out in left field. My mind is ADHD riddled. So the fact that I've been keeping it together this long is amazing to me. But how did that affect like your everyday life, man? Just like in general, you know, I mean, that's not something that the massive majority of people would deal with.
So I would say that it definitely carved a life of isolation and uncertainty, man. Because like I said, I never, because of my navigation issues, you think about everyday social interactions that you have that people just take for granted. And I don't think I was maybe 16 the first time I ever independently went out of the house myself and literally like walked around my town, my little small town of Canisteo. I got into a fight with my parents, and I was like, "Screw you guys, I'm leaving." Slammed the door, you know, and you know, and all of a sudden, like I was like, okay, I gotta master my small little town. And then, like I said, from there, it just took the screw you, I'm leaving for a day. I showed up, you know, later that night or whatever, and finally, like, I had to ask a few friends, like, where's my house, bro? Like, it sounds crazy to say, but you're like, man, I'm lost in the world right now. And so it wasn't until I was, you know, 16 that out of an act of, like, defiance, I just tested my own limits. And like I said, in my early, and then I became, like, the social butterfly around town. I'd be walking around with my headphones blaring, you know, hanging out, and all that. But it just took that like initial plunge to get me out. And then, like I said, you know, like I said, when I was struggling through my education and I didn't see a way to graduate, I was in my like, you know, like early 20s, and I'm still trying to work my way through high school as a college student. And you know, college is the time to pick up, you know, girls and all that kind of stuff. What are you gonna say? Like, hey man, like I don't drive and I'm trying to graduate high school. You know, I had to figure out some pretty savvy moves.
You want to come over and eat a Lunchable?
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like the most embarrassing stuff, and so you're like, you know, like I said, it just rendered this life of like isolation and kind of hopelessness to where you're like, I don't know where my life is really going to head from here. You know, who's going to want to be around somebody who, you know, has a great sense of humor. I'm a great first dater with the women, whatever. But at the same time, like when they're like, hey, where do you live? And you're like, I don't know. Where's your GPS? Like, it's tough and it's there's those questions that we laugh about now, but like they were heavy when we didn't know the direction of my life. Where it's like, but like I said, I found a lot of ways to escape it through humor.
Yeah.
But I think the main, and that's why, dear God, the video is filmed in an isolated like house, and you're kind of like to your own devices. I'm like pacing around because that literally was like my life, like pacing around my house, not knowing where my life was going, uncertain about so many things, and just writing letters to God to keep myself sane. It sounds sad and dark, but yeah, man, it was something to get through.
Well, I don't know if you've gotten the chance to listen to any of my own, but it's very sad and dark.
Yeah, 6 brain surgeries, my God.
Will just said, so we have a chemistry, do a song together.
There you go, man. He does music as well.
Well, I think he's saying that we should do a song together.
Oh, dude, that's cool. You play?
I do vocals, yeah.
Oh, awesome, man.
Yeah. I'm actually, I'm not going to self-promote, but I got an album coming out this month, so I'm pretty stoked about that. But
dude.
Yeah.
Why not tell us about it?
Dude, this is your interview, man. I have all the time in the world to plug it, but I'll just say it's a shoegaze metal album that I've been working on for about a year and a half, and I was actually just talking to Will about it on his podcast last night, and I encourage you to hook up with Will and get on his podcast, The Liar's Pacifist. I think you two would have a great time. Will, get on that.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I've got some open dates this month even. So if you wanted to do that, man, we'll do it. But I'm enjoying this, man. And like I said, you do vocals, so we'll have to do the old, Mark and Tom from Blink.
Yeah. Where are you?
That's right, man. 2 frontmen.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, show me, when we get off this podcast, I'd love to listen to some of your stuff, dude. I like
Yeah.
Mixed bag of all sorts of stuff.
So I know we're coming up on an hour, and I hope I haven't kept you too long. If it's okay, I'll keep you for a little bit longer. I just got a little bit more to ask you.
Hey, man, that's fine. Yeah, I'm cool.
So with the cerebral palsy and the dyscalculia, the level, like you said with me, the level of paranoia that caused, how do you think that affected your songwriting and the direction that you've gone into?
Yeah, man. Like I said, I guess whenever I go into a song, it's like I want to make it count. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've gone through so much, and you can, like I said, in this industry, you can spend up a lot of studio time money, and you can do a whole bunch of stuff that is counterproductive. And so now this new phase in this thing, I'm really wanting to be the most transparent, like I said, but make sure that every song I put out counts for something, and I can tell another part of my story through it. It's one thing just to write songs, and it's one thing just to be we're gonna write a little party jam or whatever it is. But I really am in this phase where it's everything that I put out has to matter.
Yeah.
And I think that that's because of the disability too. It's I've gone through so much that I really want to be the best. I want to demonstrate that story not only just for my own sake, but to let people know, dude, you're not alone. We're fighting this together. And so in order to do that, I can't afford to just willy-nilly release tracks and just be oh yeah, that's good enough. I really want to be the best at what I do from this point.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And the message I get from all of your music, man, is one of perseverance and determination. I think it takes a special kind of faith and trust that you've given yourself and to your actual faith to overcome the obstacles that you have. What is next for you? I mean, you clearly have shows. You got chart topping songs. I mean,
Yeah, man. Dude, we've got some festivals coming up, like I said, for the summer. I'm going to be stopping by different locations in Ohio. Not a
Okay.
lot of the festivals haven't been 100% solidized, but we're working on getting more bookings for the summer, and so far it's coming along well. And I'm partnered right now with a nonprofit called Full Armor, and
Okay.
trying to get some stuff so that we can do what we want to do on an even bigger level. I'd like to, like I said, I've visited numerous churches, clubs. I've done maximum security prisons and played for the inmates there.
No.
And so really, we just want to take all this stuff to the next level. And through my partnership with Full Armor, we're hoping to do a lot of cool stuff this summer.
So, okay, I got to back you up on that. You just said you performed at max security prisons.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I've been in
Brother,
the trenches.
brother, what
Yeah,
was that like?
dude, it's like I said, when you walk into those maximum security prisons, you can feel kind of that oppression. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I remember going like there's so many different locations. We've been in Alabama, near Alabama, a lot of southern maximum security prisons, and so you go in there and they don't allow like the lights, the stuff. So you're just stripped down. You're doing a show in there in front of all these convicts that just feel super misplaced, and you never know really what's going to happen. You know what I mean? You don't know what you're walking into, and so I remember playing my song "Not My Name," and I had talked about, hey man, you're not the labels that you put on yourself. You're not, you know, these things that you put on yourself and society puts on you are not your name, and you can live above um, the life that you've created for yourself thus far. Yeah, you may suffer some consequences and you may have to kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out what that looks like, but at the same time, you don't have to live defeated. And I remember this guy coming up to me after a show, one of many, and he put his arm around me, dude, and he was like, man, I'm so ashamed of my past. And I've done some things, I've killed so many people. And at that point, like I'm like, oh my god, like freaking out. But then he paused. He's like, but what you said up there really made a difference to me. And so it was just like, wow, you're in this room of people with backgrounds that you're not even sure of, and you're at your most vulnerable because you don't have the crazy lights and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I just used it as an opportunity to really have fun with them, and at the same time, like just tell them that they're not alone, even though they feel like it. But you run into some crazy cases of people that just want to tell you about their past and what they've gone through, and you're like, man, like there are people that I've talked to that are excited for, oh man, I'm getting out this Christmas. My family is really excited to see me, and then there's those other people that are like, dude, I'm in here for life. Like I'm
Yeah.
never gonna go home.
Yeah. Again, man, you hit home when you were talking about that. I have a sibling. He's a brother. He's been in since 1999, man, and he's serving a life sentence right now. So the fact that you're
Well,
doing that kind of outreach, man, that hit a special spot in me. So, dude, thank you. Uh,
wow, dude, that's
oh
crazy, man. How all this
yeah,
stuff is coming full circle.
that's I had a feeling, man. I really did. Like Nate knows how to put people together, man. Like.
That's exciting, man. Yeah,
um,
thank you, Nate.
yeah, dude, he's the unsung hero of all of this. So just thank you, Nate, for doing this. But man, that I mean, that's heavy. That really is when you have somebody coming up to you and telling you that. Um, how has that shifted your perspective just for your outlook on life?
Dude, it's just been like I said, it's a really crazy thought to think that somebody that um, may never get out of prison goes into a prison and then gets impacted like that. And I don't, I'm not trying to like, but it just goes to show that no matter where you are, if God wants to reach you, he's gonna reach you, man. You
Mm.
know what I mean? I don't always like to over spiritualize everything, but at the same time, it just gave me that shift in perspective where it's like, here's a guy that's like completely burned his bridges, probably with his family, with people around him. He's, you know, unalived people.
Yeah.
He's done all these things, but at the same time, like, was telling me because of the things that I've gone through that, he, wants to turn over a new leaf and start new, and it's impacted him. So it's like, it just gives me that confidence that, like, no matter where you're at in life, like, if God wants to find you, he's going to find you in wherever you're at.
Absolutely. And I know you said you didn't want to over spiritualize it, man. And hey, I'll shoot straight with you. I grew up in the faith, but I'm not a part of it anymore. But that doesn't mean that I disrespect it in any way, shape, or form. And man, if that is what helps you in life, man, if that is the faith that you believe in, there's nothing wrong with supporting it. So man, just keep doing what you're doing. I know I gotta let you go. I'm almost sad to let you go, man, because this has been so much fun. Like this has been really fun, man. So we'll end on a high note, all right? So let's just end on a really big high note and tell me what your favorite story from being on stage is, whether it be behind the scenes, up on the stage, whatever.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, I think too, I grew up a fan of rock just as much as I am a musician, like we were talking about. And so I think some of these moments are super awesome. One that kind of just comes to mind is just like the everyday going on tour with a band like 7 Day Slumber last year. And
dude, last year?
Yeah, it's just amazing because you get to see them for who they really are. Like, I remember setting up gear and making animal noises backstage, and you're like, dude, this is somebody that I saw on TV.
Yeah.
Years ago when I was a kid, like watching music videos.
Yep.
And just like seeing like the humanity of it, and just like, dude, we're making horse noises just to be stupid and laugh. And then I remember like their son, the drummer, he's a really funny guy, and he would just make up random words. Like, he would be like, dude, I saw, he would make me second guess. I was new on the tour, and so he was like trying to, throw me off a little. And he'd be like, yeah, man, you got to watch out for those pafungalos. And I was like, what? Those what? And he just laughed. And, I was like, he's like, yeah, man, they're out on the road. And he'd get me like on an idea. He'd just say stuff that I was unsure what he was talking about, but it was really just funny because these are people that you grew up listening to, and, they're busting your chops, man, backstage and doing all these kinds of things. And so it's really weird. Like I said, and also, when we were in one of those maximum security prisons, one of the funny stories, Joe is the lead singer of 7 Day Slumber, and he, just for a joke, every time I would get up in front of the crowd at the maximum security prison, he would just joke around and be like, yo, man, this is Matt, but his street name is Tiger Claw, so y'all better watch out. And so I went throughout my first couple tours as Tiger Claw, and that's kind of my tour initiation name. And so I'm thinking about maybe altering my look, doing my hair in tiger stripes or something like that.
There you go. Just put it in parentheses, Matt Sassano, Tiger Claw.
That's right, man. And so it's just weird to see everything come full circle. As like a fan of this stuff, and then going on 4 nationwide tours and having them nickname you Tiger Claw and being a part of this team. So yeah, crazy, dude. And like I said, coming from a guy who never thought he'd make it out of high school and was kind of the butt of the joke, so it's strange, dude.
Absolutely. Well, dude, I tell everybody this. I didn't know what to expect from the episode, man, but this has been such a treat. It's been so much fun. It's been just an absolute blast getting to know you, man. And thank you for wanting to be on this and giving me a shot, dude. Thank you.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. And like I said, watch out for my new single, Happy Family, comes out on
the 23rd?
Yeah, so check that out. And, dude, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for having me on. And I'm just wishing continued success with the podcast and whatever you put your hand to, man.
Absolutely. And same to you, man. If you will stick around for just a moment after I take you off the screen, I'll actually talk to you after we go off for just a moment, and then I'll let you go.
Sure, man. Awesome.
And Will said, it's amazing what you can achieve. It only takes that first step toward a goal. I agree, man. This all started as a a preconceived thought about 2 years ago, and then I just started it at the beginning of this year, and it's really kicking off. And dude, it's really cool to see you achieving yours as well, man. So I definitely want to have you back on sometime down the line when our schedules will line up, dude. I would love to have you on and hopefully maybe do like an album review.
Yeah, dude, do it. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome, man.
yeah,
Cool.
sound good.
Sure.
So,
Awesome, man. I can't wait.
all right, man. So, dude, thank you again for going beyond the breakdown with 6 Scars tonight. It's been an absolute joy getting to pick your brain, getting to see what it's like in the mind of Matt Sassano. So, dude, you have a wonderful night, and I will catch you a little bit later.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, guys. So that was Matt Sassano. Didn't know what to expect going into this. Was definitely a treat. So be sure to check him out. This will be available on YouTube and Spotify and Amazon, as well as the previous podcast from tonight. Should be by Wednesday. Be patient. It is just me doing all this, so I'm trying my hardest. But with that said, be sure to check him out. Be sure to check his videos out. They are profound. They have so much meaning behind them. Give him a chance. I don't think you'll regret it. Guys, thank you so much for going beyond the breakdown with me tonight. This has been a fun and just a little bit exhausting, tiring night. But all in all, man, it was a great time. So thank you. Much love. Take care.